Welcome to the Diaries of Science Fiction, where extraordinary stories come to life. Enjoy the journey. The first time Dr. Adrian Cross saw her, she was dying. Not the peaceful, gradual decline of natural death, but the violent, systematic destruction of a body at war with itself. Lyrae, they'd told him that was her name, though whether it was a title or an identifier, no one seemed certain. Hung suspended in the containment field, her silver-veined skin flickering with bioluminescent patterns that pulsed irregularly, like a failing heartbeat made visible. She was the most beautiful thing Adrian had ever seen, and he was being ordered to kill her slowly. "Your assignment is straightforward, Dr. Cross." General Vance stood beside him in the observation room, her reflection ghost-like in the reinforced glass separating them from the containment chamber. Extract viable genetic material, map her cellular structure, identify the source of her regenerative capabilities. We have, at most, 3 weeks before complete systemic failure. Make them count. Adrian's throat was dry. And the subject's comfort, pain management protocols, are secondary to data acquisition. Vance's tone brooked no argument. She's not a patient, doctor, she's a resource. The Kiv'arath have slaughtered 16 million humans across 4 colony worlds. This creature is their queen, or was before we brought her down. Every second she breathes is a gift we're giving her. Don't waste it on mercy. After Vance left, Adrian stood alone in the observation room, studying the woman, no, the queen, behind the glass. Lyrae's eyes were closed, but he could see the rapid movement beneath her eyelids. Dreaming, perhaps, or hallucinating from the pain. The diagnostic readouts painted a grim picture. Cellular degradation at 16% and climbing, neurological function declining, immune system in complete collapse. Earth's atmosphere was poison to her. The oxygen saturation, the nitrogen levels, even the gravity, everything about this world was fundamentally incompatible with Kiv'arath physiology. She was suffocating by degrees, her body cannibalizing itself trying to adapt to an environment that would never accept her. And Adrian's job was to watch it happen, to document every stage of her death, to cut into her while she was still alive and catalog what made a queen different from the thousands of Kiv'arath soldiers they'd already vivisected. He was a doctor. He'd taken an oath. First, do no harm. But the woman behind the glass wasn't human. The law was clear on that point. Alien combatants had no rights under the Geneva Convention, no protections, no mercy. Adrian looked down at the tablet in his hands at the procedure schedule General Vance had approved. Day 1, baseline tissue samples. Day 3, deep organ biopsies. Day 7, cranial mapping with full consciousness. They wanted to study her pain response, see if there was some exploitable weakness in Kiv'arath neurology. His hands were shaking. When had that started? "Computer," he said quietly. "Add to medical log. Subject appears to be experiencing severe respiratory distress. Recommend immediate intervention to stabilize core functions before proceeding with tissue extraction." It was a lie. A transparent, desperate lie that would probably get him removed from the project. But it would buy her time. Maybe a day, maybe less. It was all he could offer. When Adrian entered the containment chamber for the first time, Lyrae's eyes snapped open. They were extraordinary, crystalline structures that shifted through colors he didn't have names for, colors that shouldn't exist in Earth's visible spectrum. Her gaze tracked him with predatory precision as he approached, every muscle in her suspended body tensing despite the restraint field. "I'm Dr. Adrian Cross," he said, keeping his voice level and professional. "I'm here to kill me?" Her voice was rough, each word clearly painful, but her English was perfect, the accent melodic despite the circumstances. "That is your function, yes. To dissect the conquered enemy, to learn how to destroy more of my kind." Adrian stopped 3 feet from the containment field. "I'm here to assess your medical condition." How thoughtful. The sarcasm was acidic. "Tell me, doctor, do you also assess the medical condition of the insects you crush beneath your boots?" "You're not an insect." No, I am worse. I am your defeated enemy. Those impossible eyes fixed on him with an intensity that made his breath catch. I am Lyrae of the Seven Suns, sovereign of the crystalline throne, commander of the Void Fleet. I have lived 300 of your years. I have seen stars born and die. I have ruled a civilization that mastered faster-than-light travel while your ancestors were still painting on cave walls. She paused, and something that might have been a smile touched her lips. And now I am dying in a cage, at the mercy of primates who think themselves conquerors. The universe has a cruel sense of humor. Adrian pulled up the medical scanner, trying to ignore the way her words cut through his professional detachment. Your cellular degradation is accelerating. Without intervention, you have perhaps 10 days, maybe less. Intervention? She laughed, and it sounded like breaking glass. What intervention? You cannot change your world's atmosphere to suit me. You cannot provide the radiation spectrum my cells require for regeneration. You cannot. She stopped, her body seizing in sudden agony. The bioluminescent patterns beneath her skin flared chaotically, and Adrian watched her vitals spike into dangerous territory. He was moving before conscious thought engaged. His hand flew across the control panel, adjusting the containment field's parameters, flooding it with a specific wavelength of ultraviolet light. He'd noted the UV receptors in her cellular structure during his preliminary review. It was a guess, an educated guess, but still a gamble that could just as easily harm her. Lyrae's body went rigid, then slowly relaxed. The chaotic light patterns beneath her skin stabilized, pulsing in a more regular rhythm. She was breathing easier, still dying, but the immediate crisis had passed. Why? The question was barely a whisper. Why help me? Adrian looked at her, really looked at her, and saw past the alien features, past the enemy designation, past everything that should have made her other. He saw someone suffering, someone dying, someone whose eyes held the same desperate desire to live that he'd seen in 1,000 human patients. "Because I'm a doctor," he said quietly. "And right now, that matters more than what side of a war we're on." Something shifted in Lyrae's expression. Not trust, that would be absurd, but perhaps a recalibration, a recognition that this human might be fractionally less terrible than expected. "You realize they will remove you from this assignment," she said. "Helping me contradicts your orders." "Probably." Adrian pulled up her full diagnostic panel, studying the cascade of failing systems. "But that gives me maybe a day to figure out how to stabilize you, so let's not waste it talking." He worked through the night, running simulations, testing hypotheses, stealing equipment from other labs that no one would miss immediately. Lyrae watched him with those shifting eyes, occasionally offering information about Kiv'arath biology that the torture sessions, Adrian refused to call them interrogations, hadn't extracted. "We evolved under binary stars," she explained when he couldn't understand why her cells were rejecting mitochondrial function. "Our energy production is photosynthetic at the cellular level. Your single sun provides insufficient spectrum range. I am essentially, what is your word? Starving. Even as I breathe, even as my heart beats, my cells are dying of malnutrition. The UV enhancement is helping though." Adrian checked the latest readouts. Her degradation had slowed from 16% to 12%, still critical but no longer immediately fatal. "It is delaying the inevitable, not preventing it." She paused. "Why are you doing this, Dr. Cross? Truly. You gain nothing, you risk everything. We are enemies. My people have killed millions of yours." Adrian was quiet for a long moment, his hands stilling over the controls. "6 years ago I had a patient, Rebecca Chang. She was 19, brilliant, studying xenobiology. She was on the colony world Janus 7 when your fleet arrived. She was one of the 16 million. Lyrae's eyes closed. "Then you should hate me most of all." "I did. When they told me about this assignment, I thought it was justice, cosmic balance. Your people took someone I cared about. Now I'd get to watch one of you die." He looked up, meeting her gaze. "But then I walked in here and you weren't a monster. You were just someone dying, and I remembered why I became a doctor in the first place, not to decide who deserves to live, just to preserve life when I can. You are a fool, Lyrae said softly, a noble, compassionate fool. Yeah, Adrian managed a tired smile. I've been called worse. By morning, he'd managed to jury-rig a full-spectrum light array that approximated the radiation signature of Lyrae's binary suns. It wasn't perfect. Nothing could be without actually transporting her to a Kiv'arath world, but her cellular degradation had dropped to 8%. She was still dying, just significantly slower. General Vance arrived at 600 hours, her expression thunderous. Dr. Cross, explain why you've deviated from the approved protocol. The subject was experiencing critical system failure. I stabilized her condition to ensure viable tissue samples. The lies came easier now. Dead cells provide inferior data, basic research methodology. Vance studied him with the cold calculation of someone who'd spent decades reading people. Your concern for data quality is noted. Proceed with tissue extraction today. I want preliminary results by 1800 hours. After she left, Adrian sagged against the control panel. Lyrae watched him with an expression he couldn't quite read. She knows, the Queen said quietly. She knows you are lying. She is allowing it for now because your results are better than expected. But the moment you become a liability. I know. Adrian straightened, pulling up the tissue extraction protocols, which means we have very little time. Time for what? He looked at her, at this dying queen who should have been his enemy, and made a decision that would damn him. To get you out of here. Lyrae's eyes widened, colors swirling chaotically. That is impossible. This facility is a fortress. The security measures alone are designed to keep people from breaking in, not necessarily from breaking out. Adrian began accessing files he had no clearance for, using back doors he discovered during his years in the military medical corps. I can't save your fleet, I can't stop this war, but I can save you. Maybe that matters, maybe it doesn't, but it's what I'm choosing to do. They will execute you. Probably. He pulled up security schematics looking for weaknesses. But Rebecca, the girl I lost, she didn't just study xenobiology. She believed in it. Believed that first contact should be about understanding, not conquest. She'd hate what this war has become. What we've become. He looked up, meeting Lyrae's extraordinary eyes. If I let you die in a cage while I cut you apart for data, I become everything she would have despised. And I've already lost her. I can't lose myself too. For the first time since he'd met her, Lyrae smiled, a genuine expression that transformed her alien features into something achingly beautiful. Dr. Adrian Cross, when my people write the histories of this war, I will ensure your name is remembered, not as an enemy, but as proof that even in darkness there can be light. Save the poetry for after we don't get killed, Adrian said, but he was smiling too. Now, tell me everything you know about Kiv'arath physiology, because I'm going to need to keep you alive long enough to smuggle you off this planet, and I'm going to need your help to do it. The plan was insane. Adrian knew it was insane, but sanity was overrated when the alternative was complicity in murder disguised as research. Over the next 4 days, he worked double shifts, ostensibly collecting data for the research program. In reality, he was preparing for an extraction that would either save one extraordinary life or end his own. Probably both. Lyrae proved to be a far more complex problem than any medical case he'd ever handled. Her physiology was so fundamentally different from human biology that every treatment was guesswork. But she was also brilliant. 300 years of life had given her knowledge that helped fill the gaps in his understanding. Our regenerative capability is tied to crystalline structures in our bone marrow, she explained during one of their midnight sessions, when the facility was minimally staffed. Your UV enhancement is helping, but what I truly need is specific mineral supplementation. Titanium, palladium, trace amounts of iridium. Without them, my cellular repair functions cannot engage properly. Those minerals aren't exactly in the medical supply cabinet. Adrian ran calculations, looking at her slowly improving vitals. The degradation had stabilized at 6%, but that was still critical. Where would I even? Industrial Fabrication Labs, Level 3, East Wing. Lyrae's smile was knowing. I have been conscious for portions of my captivity. I have listened, learned. Your facility manufactures advanced prosthetics, yes. Those require exotic metals. You want me to break into a secure fabrication lab, steal restricted materials, and somehow synthesize them into a form you can metabolize, while under constant surveillance. In a military black site. Adrian laughed, the sound slightly unhinged. Why not? We're already committing treason, might as well add burglary to the list. But he did it. Over 3 nights, he carefully diverted small quantities of materials, using his medical clearance to access areas he technically shouldn't be in. He synthesized the compounds using equipment from the xenobiology wing, then introduced them into Lyrae's system through the containment field's delivery mechanism. The change was remarkable. Within 12 hours, her cellular degradation dropped to 3%. Her bioluminescent pattern stabilized, pulsing with steady, healthy rhythms. She could move more freely within the containment field, and her voice grew stronger. I feel alive, she said on the 5th night, wonder in her voice. For the first time since your weapons brought me down, I feel like myself again. Adrian watched her with a mixture of professional satisfaction and something far more dangerous, personal investment. Don't get too comfortable. We're running out of time. Vance is getting suspicious. She's requested independent verification of my research results. Once they realize I've been fabricating data, then we move tonight. Lyrae's eyes met his, and he saw determination there that reminded him she was a queen. A warrior, someone who'd commanded fleets and conquered worlds. You have a plan. A terrible one. Adrian pulled up the facility schematics he'd been memorizing. But yes, the question is whether you're strong enough to survive it. Doctor, I am Kiv'arath. We do not survive, we conquer. Her smile was fierce and beautiful. Tell me what you need. The plan depended on 3 things going perfectly right and approximately 17 things not going catastrophically wrong. Adrian had never been a gambling man, but apparently loving a dying alien queen turned you into an optimist about impossible odds. Wait, loving. He shoved that thought into a mental compartment labeled deal with later or never, and focused on the immediate problem of not getting them both killed. The shift change happens at 200 hours, Adrian explained, pulling up the security rotation on his stolen tablet. For exactly 8 minutes, there's a gap in camera coverage in the North Corridor. Maintenance has been complaining about the blind spot for weeks, but it keeps deprioritizing the fix. That's our window. Lyrae studied the schematics with the tactical mind of someone who'd planned military campaigns. And the containment field. I assume you cannot simply turn it off without triggering alarms. Not turn it off, recalibrate it. Adrian pulled up the technical specifications he'd been studying obsessively. The field is designed to suppress your abilities, right? Keep you weak, unable to access your full strength. But if I gradually shift the parameters over the next 6 hours, make it look like routine medical adjustments, I can actually enhance your capabilities instead. By the time we move, you'll be strong enough to break through the reinforced door. They'll think it's a containment failure, not a deliberate release. Clever. Those crystalline eyes studied him with an intensity that made his heart race. But it requires you to be inside the chamber when I break free. You could be hurt, killed even. My people are not gentle when fighting for survival. Then don't kill me. Adrian tried for lightness and failed. I'd really appreciate that, actually. Adrian. The use of his first name stopped him cold. She'd never called him anything but doctor before. What you are doing, what you have done, it is more than preserving one life. You are choosing your conscience over your tribe. That is the hardest choice any being can make. I need you to understand what it will cost you. I know what it'll cost. He met her eyes, refusing to look away. Everything. My career, my freedom, probably my life once they catch us. I'll be a traitor, a collaborator. My name will be synonymous with betrayal. And yet you continue. And yet I continue. Adrian allowed himself a small, sad smile. Want to know the worst part? I'm not even sure anymore if I'm doing this because it's right or because. He trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. Because of what you feel for me. Lyrae's voice was gentle. Yes, I know. I feel it too. The admission hung between them like a physical thing, fragile and terrifying and impossibly real. Adrian's breath caught. That's crazy. We barely know each other. You're an alien. We're enemies. This whole situation is impossible. Lyrae shifted within the containment field, moving closer to where he stood. Yes, and yet here we are. You risking everything to save a woman who should mean nothing to you. Me trusting a human who has every reason to hate my kind. Perhaps impossibility is where truth lives, Adrian, in the spaces between what should be and what is. That's very philosophical for someone who's been systematically tortured for a week. That 300 years teaches you perspective. Her expression softened. Or perhaps it is simpler than philosophy. Perhaps it is just two people finding connection in darkness. Is that so impossible? It should be. But Adrian's hand was moving toward the containment field, drawn by something stronger than logic. Everything about this should be impossible. And yet, Lyrae raised her own hand, pressing it against the energy barrier from the inside. The field shimmered where their hands nearly touched, separated by inches and technology, and the weight of a war neither of them had started. We are here. They stood like that for a long moment, hands almost touching, eyes locked, the rest of the universe temporarily forgotten. Then Adrian's comm unit beeped with an incoming message, shattering the moment. It's Vance. His blood turned to ice as he read the message. She's coming here, now, with a full medical team. They're going to run independent diagnostics. Adrian, if they scan you, they will discover what you have done. Lyrae's voice was suddenly sharp, commanding. We move now. Forget the shift change, forget the careful plan. You have perhaps 10 minutes before she arrives. I haven't finished the field recalibration. You won't be at full strength. The guards will die if they try to stop me. The Queen's eyes blazed with colors that spoke of barely restrained violence. I am Kiv'arath, Adrian. Even weakened, even dying, I am still a predator. And you have just given me reason to fight. Adrian's hands flew across the controls, throwing caution aside. He disabled safeties, overrode protocols, pushed the containment field's parameters into dangerous territory. Alarms began wailing immediately. He'd hoped for a few more seconds of stealth, but apparently the universe was done granting him favors. Get ready, he shouted over the sirens. This is going to hurt. He slammed his hand down on the emergency release, and the containment field exploded outward in a cascade of energy. Lyrae dropped to the floor, free for the first time in a week, and Adrian saw her true strength revealed. She was magnificent. 300 years of life, centuries of evolution on a harsh world orbiting binary suns, the genetic superiority that made her a queen, all of it flooded back into her body as the suppression field released its hold. The bioluminescent patterns beneath her skin flared brilliant silver blue, her crystalline bone structure extending into elegant crests along her arms and spine. She grew taller, her physiology shifting from the compressed, weakened form to something that radiated lethal grace. And her eyes, those impossible, beautiful eyes, locked onto Adrian with predatory focus for just a heartbeat. Long enough for him to remember she was a warrior queen, long enough to wonder if he just made a fatal mistake. Then she smiled. Run, doctor, I will clear the path. The door to the containment chamber burst open, and 4 guards in tactical armor poured through. They never stood a chance. Lyrae moved like liquid violence, like a storm given form. Her enhanced strength, no longer suppressed by the containment field, let her tear through armor plating like paper. Her speed made human reflexes look pathetically slow. Within seconds, all 4 guards were down, unconscious or dead. Adrian couldn't tell and didn't want to know. Adrian, Lyrae's voice cut through his shock. Move. They ran. Through corridors that Adrian had walked 1,000 times, now transformed into a deadly obstacle course. More guards appeared, more gunfire, more of Lyrae's terrifying efficiency in combat. She protected him, her body always between Adrian and the weapons, taking hits that would have killed him instantly. "You're hurt," Adrian gasped as they ducked into a service corridor. He could see crystalline fluid, her blood, he realized, seeping from bullet wounds in her shoulder and side. "I will survive. Keep moving." But there was strain in her voice now. The brief surge of strength from the field release was fading. She was still dying, just slower, and every injury accelerated that timeline. They reached the hangar bay, the one area of the facility with direct access to the outside. Adrian had gambled that in the chaos of the containment breach, security would be focused inward, on stopping the threat, not outward on preventing escape. He'd gambled wrong. General Vance stood in the hangar bay, flanked by a full security team with weapons trained on the entrance. She looked at Adrian with an expression of profound disappointment. "Dr. Cross, I had hoped you were simply naive, idealistic. I see now I was mistaken." She gestured to her team. "Stand down, you're outgunned and you know it." Adrian felt Lyrae tense beside him, saw her calculating odds, measuring distances. She was preparing to fight. To die fighting, taking as many with her as possible. It's what a warrior queen would do. But Adrian was a doctor, and doctors saved lives even when it seemed impossible. "General," he said, stepping forward, putting himself between Lyrae and the weapons. "Before you kill us, you should know what I discovered in my research." Vance's eyebrow raised. "Amusing yourself with fiction won't save you, Doctor." "It's not fiction. It's the reason you're going to let us go." Adrian pulled out his tablet. He'd prepared this, hoped he wouldn't need it, but had the data ready just in case. Lyrae isn't just a queen, she's a genetic keystone. Her DNA contains the master template for Kiv'arath biology. She's not just a leader, she's literally the mother of her species. Every Kiv'arath alive carries her genetic markers. She's irreplaceable. I fail to see how that helps your case. If anything, it makes her more valuable as a research subject. Because she's also a biological dead man switch. Adrian pulled up the scans he'd taken, the discovery that had horrified him 3 days ago. Her physiology is linked to the entire Kiv'arath fleet. If she dies, truly dies, not just weakened or imprisoned, it triggers a cascading genetic failure across her entire species. They'll know, they'll feel it, and they'll respond. Vance's expression didn't change, but Adrian saw her hand move slightly. A signal. Her team's weapons lowered fractionally. "You're claiming she's a biological WMD. I'm claiming she's the only thing keeping 16 million Kiv'arath from launching a suicide attack on Earth in revenge." Adrian's voice was steady, though his heart was hammering. "You want to end this war. You need her alive. You need her free. You need her to tell her people that humans are capable of mercy. That peace is possible." It was a magnificent bluff, built on approximately 60% real science and 40% desperate improvisation. Adrian had found evidence of genetic linkage, yes. Whether it actually functioned as a dead man's switch, he had no idea, but Vance didn't know that. The general was silent for a long, terrible moment. Then, "If I let you go, you become traitors, enemies of humanity. There will be no coming back from this." "I know. And you?" Vance's gaze shifted to Lyrae. "If I release you, what guarantee do I have that you won't immediately rally your fleet and destroy us?" Lyrae stepped forward, and despite her injuries, despite her weakened state, she radiated authority. "You have the word of Lyrae of the Seven Sons. I will tell my people what Dr. Cross has done. I will tell them that not all humans are monsters. I will advocate for peace, though I cannot promise it will be heeded. But I will try. That is my offer." Vance studied them both, her tactical mind clearly running calculations. Finally, you have 12 hours. Get off this planet, get to neutral space, and never come back. If I see either of you again, I will shoot you myself. Understood? Adrian nearly collapsed with relief. Understood. And Doctor? Vance's voice stopped them as they moved toward the transport ships. For what it's worth, I hope you're right, about peace being possible, because if you're wrong, you've just doomed us all. They took the smallest ship in the hangar, a medical transport that Adrian had nominal clearance to operate. Lyrae collapsed in the co-pilot seat as soon as they were airborne, her injuries catching up with her now that the adrenaline was fading. Stay with me, Adrian commanded, already pulling out medical supplies. We're not clear yet, I need you conscious. So demanding for a human who claims to hate giving orders. But she was smiling, even through the pain. Where are we going? Neutral space. The Sigma Station. It's technically under the Geneva Accords, Switzerland of the stars. Neither human nor Kiv'arath jurisdiction. We'll be refugees, but we'll be alive. Refugees. Lyrae laughed, the sound crystalline and achingly beautiful. From queen to refugee, my council would be horrified. Your council isn't here. Adrian worked on her injuries, his hands steady despite everything. Just me. Is that enough? She caught his hand, her crystalline fingers wrapping around his human ones. It is everything. They flew in silence for a while, Earth shrinking behind them, the stars ahead offering uncertain sanctuary. Adrian should have felt terror, regret, doubt. Instead, he felt something that might have been hope. What did you tell Vance? Lyrae asked quietly. About the genetic linkage, about me being a dead man's switch. Was any of that true? Adrian was quiet for a moment. Then, about 60%. And the other 40%. The most desperate lie of my life. He looked at her, at this impossible woman he'd thrown away everything to save. Did I doom humanity with my bluff? Lyrae was silent, and Adrian's heart sank. Then she smiled. That fierce, beautiful smile that he was starting to recognize meant she was about to say something that would change everything. The genetic linkage is real, but it is not a weapon. It is a communication network. Every Kiv'arath will know I survived. They will know a human saved me. They will know. She paused, her eyes shimmering with colors he was learning meant emotion. They will know that I have chosen to advocate for peace, and they will listen, because I am their queen. So I accidentally told the truth while desperately lying. It appears so. Lyrae squeezed his hand. You are remarkably lucky for someone who makes terrible decisions, says the woman who trusted a human to save her. Yes, terrible decision, absolutely catastrophic. Her smile widened. I regret nothing. They reached Sigma Station 3 hours later, battered, exhausted, wanted by both their governments and utterly, impossibly alive. As they docked, Lyrae turned to Adrian with an expression of profound seriousness. You gave up everything for me. Your career, your home, your people. I cannot give you back what you lost, but I can offer you something else. What's that? A future with me, building something new. Not human, not Kiv'arath, but something between, a bridge across the void. She paused, if you want it. Adrian thought about Rebecca, about the girl who'd believed first contact should be about understanding, about the oath he'd taken to preserve life, about the choice between tribal loyalty and universal compassion. He thought about Lyrae, the dying queen he'd saved, who'd somehow saved him in return. I want it, he said. Every impossible, terrifying, beautiful moment of it. She kissed him then, and it was nothing like kissing a human. Her lips were cool crystal, her breath tasted of stars, and when their minds touched, a Kiv'arath bonding reflex he hadn't expected, he felt 300 years of her life, her pain, her hope, rushing through him like a tide. And she felt him, all of him. Every doubt, every fear, every desperate hope that love could be enough to bridge the void between species. When they finally pulled apart, they were both crying, though Lyrae's tears were liquid crystal that caught the light like diamonds. That was, Adrian couldn't find words, everything. Lyrae finished, her hand cupping his face with impossible gentleness. "You are everything, Adrian Cross, my savior, my conscience, my heart." Behind them, Sigma Station's docking bay doors opened, revealing a future uncertain and dangerous and full of possibility. Representatives from a dozen species waited, some hostile, some curious, all cautious. But Adrian and Lyrae faced them together, Doctor and Queen, human and Kiv'arath, two people who'd chosen each other over every rational reason not to, and somehow, impossibly, it was enough. 6 months later, the Treaty of Sigma Station would be signed, ending the war that had killed millions. Historians would credit Lyrae's testimony, the proof that humans were capable of mercy even to their greatest enemy. But those who were there knew the truth. The war ended because one doctor had looked at a dying queen and seen a person worth saving, because he'd risked everything for a stranger, because in the darkest moment he'd chosen compassion over hate, and because sometimes love really can save the world, or worlds plural. "Ready?" Lyrae asked, squeezing his hand. "No," Adrian admitted, "but let's do it anyway." They walked forward together, into an uncertain